Yo. So this is a podcast that is, every so often, you got to make a podcast that's just out of its mind, a little wacky wacko, So this podcast is, hello, this is Jabari's Wisdom, and today we're going to be talking about aliens. Now, I'm not going to go through, all this whatever conspiracy about like all the different types of aliens and why the aliens have been, doing whatever in the past. That maybe that's for another podcast or who knows. This is just, but this one is going to be about NASA. And this is a touchy subject for some people because people love NASA. But I'm just gonna make the podcast. And every so often, not every podcast has to be about some wisdom, about some, on earth type stuff. Maybe we do some wise conspiracies because, there's a lot of logic in it. I think I brought this up in another podcast once before, but I'm going to bring it up officially now. How I will officially prove that either NASA is a useless freaking agency or aliens exist. Don't even start freaking sending me comments 50 years from now about the science and blah blah. This is just a fun little conspiracy. Don't get all upset just because NASA is your freaking blood brother, the science, whatever crap. Like, come on, just let me give my conspiracy. If you don't want me to talk about NASA, then leave, because I'm going to, and you know that now before I even bring up anything. Because I know how freaking touchy people are when you bring up space. Because for some reason people like, the space is the future. Like, shut up. But here it is. I don't know if people are doing fireworks outside, even though it's July 3rd. It's not even July 4th yet. So it's kind of weird. But I don't know if I'll probably be able to cut it out with maybe you won't hear it. Maybe you will. Who knows? But oh my God, they are doing fireworks. It's not even July 3rd. It is July 3rd. It's not even July 4th. That's actually crazy. Man, people, it's not even like, what time is it? It's 9 o'clock. Or it's 8 o'clock, actually. It's 8:57, almost 9. And people have been doing it since 8. Like, I thought people do it, when it gets to July 4th. Like maybe, 11. Not freaking now. That's crazy. Freaking annoying. I don't know if I'll be able to cut this stuff out. Maybe they don't want me talking about aliens, but hopefully, I'm still going to record because, I stopped my studying because it got night. And, I don't like studying when it's night. I like studying in the afternoon, but not when the sun goes down. I don't know. I lose that motivation, but still. So about NASA. So NASA started, as a aeronautical whatever agency and everything, nothing bad about that. And, during the whole Cold War, it makes sense why NASA started becoming big because, you're afraid of the whole communists doing satellites in the sky, spying on us and everything. Oh, we don't want them to be up there and not us. We don't want them taking advantage of the orbits of their satellites and, being able to do satellite images from wherever while we can't. So, NASA became, space or whatever. Well, I think they were another agency before that and then they became NASA, but still. Then, after that, makes sense. Makes sense having a certain agency for space, for, satellite type space. But once you get past that, it stops making sense. Like, for example, like going to the moon, it makes, other than for, brag worthy. So maybe it made sense during the Cold War. We got to the moon. Look at us. We're better. So, everyone don't be communist, be, democratic because, we got to the moon and the commies didn't, blah, 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 blah. But like, why does it make sense to, after that, start studying, say, Jupiter? And like, it makes sense on a scientific standpoint, but why tax dollar wise are they, funded so much? Like, yeah, they're getting funded less and less and less, but they're getting funded still a fair amount. Like, they're still getting a fair amount for like kind of useless stuff. Like knowing that Jupiter has this type of composition has no relevancy to us on Earth at all. Like, if anything, that tax dollar could be spent on something, better, something that actually affects us. Like, but what about the citizens? We like space. We like learning about it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone loves a little bit of space. Everyone loves hearing about the science. But on a completely like money standpoint, like if there are things to be funded by the government, like to spend their tax dollars on, why space? Like, why even have the agency? Like, you can study space on your own, like you can use the satellite, or, you can have telescopes down here to study it. Like, it might not be as cool because, oh man, we had a satellite pass by Pluto. So now we see that there's like a super cool heart-shaped freaking crater on Pluto. It's like, yeah, that's cool. But it's like, it's not relevant. Like, that $1 billion or whatever, how much is spent, like, technically it could have been spent on something better. Like, there are more things that could have been spent other than, sending a satellite to Venus. Like, that has no relevancy to, the common man in a way. Like, that's just like cool stuff that, like, I don't know if it's just extra money, but that extra money could be spent somewhere else. So it leads me to why. Like, let's just say, other than satellite stuff, other agencies can launch satellites. Like, it's not just NASA that can launch satellites. Like, for example, the Air Force, the Navy, the Army, they have satellites too. I don't know, because I guess that's secret stuff, but I'm assuming that, they launch that stuff themselves, or, they can have private industry launch that stuff themselves, because I'm assuming that, because NASA doesn't have the space shuttles anymore, they're not going to use Russia, because they've been sending some stuff up, or sending astronauts up using Russian space capsules or whatever launches. But I'm going to assume that, when the military needs to send up a satellite, a spy satellite, they're not going to use Russian shuttles or Russian rockets. They might not even use, like, let's just say now they start using SpaceX more. I'm assuming they're not going to use SpaceX launch rockets either. So how are they getting those rockets up there? Or how they getting their own secret satellites up there? And I'm assuming that they have their own, private, secret rockets that will go up into space themselves. So then what's the point of NASA? Because apparently NASA is a, research agency. But then there are other things, like if they're researching stuff like Venus and stuff, that has completely no relevancy to us. Like, oh, what about Venus? That shows how the Earth will be in 40,000 years. It's like, okay, like every single politician, every single person who's ever lived ever will be so long forgotten by then that it's not even relevant. Like, even 40,000 years, which I doubt will get the Venus level 40,000 years, but let's just say it happens in 40,000 years. That's so irrelevant. Like, what things were happening 40,000 years in the past? No one knows. That's prehistory. That's how far along 40,000 years was just for humans. Just for humans. I don't even know if they count like modern day humans as 40,000 years ago. They probably count that as like scavengers of just almost monkey tier humans. So it's like, that stuff is irrelevant. Saying like, oh, how the future will be. Oh, how the beginning of the Big Bang will be. Like, how is that relevant to us? Like, learning about freaking Serengeti lions or whatever is more relevant to us than learning about the Big Bang. So it's like, why are they still funded? Same with, let's say, ocean exploration. If anything, ocean type technology is more relevant to military stuff than, say, going out to Neptune, because we have our nuclear subs in the seas. So wouldn't it make more sense that we want those to be more efficient, more, reliable, blah, 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 than, having a rocket send a telescope up in the sky for us to, figure out more about the Big Bang or something. So it's, again, why is it still funded? Now you could argue it's for the citizens. This is the one time for just the one time, randomly, the one time that the government cares about what the citizens want funded for once, which, that already leads to me saying like, that doesn't make sense. But let's still say for once, the government's like, okay, we'll leave NASA alone because this is the one thing that makes the citizens happy. No. We don't care about environment stuff. We don't care about healthcare. We don't care about, We don't care about lowering the price of or increasing the wages. No. Let's just keep NASA because that will make them happy. That doesn't make sense either. Because why would they do that? Why would they waste that for that? When, that's, people aren't like, citizens aren't like up in the world or happy just because of freaking rocket launch. It's not freaking Cold War era anymore. So there's no bragging about that. And then if anything, you could argue Russia basically still owns space because half of this stuff is like, when I say half of this stuff, I mean half of this like, brag-worthy stuff is mostly, Russian stuff. Like, they go up into space using whatever the Soyuz rocket or however it's pronounced. They go into the International Space Station, that's kind of like almost a Russian like environment. You have to learn Russian to even be a astronaut because so many things in space are basically like, Russian type stuff. So that doesn't make sense. And that leads me to the one thing. Why would a government still fund a space agency even though they have almost no relevancy to the people down on Earth? And the one thing is freaking aliens. Why else would they want to know about some bullcrap stuff that are 40 freaking something light years minimum away, or even further, where they're like, we found life-size Earth supergiants 40,000 light years away. It's like, okay, so you're saying that even if we were going the speed of light, it will take us 40,000 years, prehistory type years, to get to the super Earth. Why should I care? Why do they care? Why should any freaking government who's funding anything care? Even freaking Pluto. Why should I care that Pluto has a freaking composition of whatever level of freaking iron and zinc? Or say the moon. Why should anyone care what the composition of the moon is? Like, it's cool, but it has no relevancy. It's not like we're mining the moon anymore. Why should we care that people are having colonies on Mars? It has no relevancy. The colonies will not even be relevant ever, if anything, because they would have to recheck. Like, for the colonies to be relevant, it would cost so much money to actually have a stable environment on Mars, because one, the atmosphere is basically nothing. So, and then the weather is, well, the weather's probably not that bad, but still, it's like, Mars is just a terrible environment to live due to the temperature, due to the composition of the air, due to the way the actual like environment, like when I say environment, like the soil is. So it's going to be hard to grow stuff. So basically, you're going to have to either terraform the mess out of the area that you're going to be inhabiting, or spend crazy amount of supplies just to make a bubble of like safety for yourself. Going back and forth. And that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't help anyone doing that. Like, oh, humans are meant to explore. But yeah, before we were exploring places we could live. Now we're going to a different level where we're exploring stuff that even 100 years from now will still be a terrible place to live. Or the moon's closer, and it's the same thing. The moon, they're like, oh, we're going to have colonies on the moon. It's like, who cares? Other than just brag-worthy stuff, which I don't think, like, it would be brag-worthy, I guess, but it still wouldn't change how things are down here. It just doesn't make sense. Some people say the whole thing, like, I'm just going over right now. I'm just going over the things that just don't make sense. Some people say, oh, there's so many things that NASA discovered while they were trying to get people up there. For example, memory foam. And it's like, okay. So you're saying how many $1 billion spent each year just for the research? I'm not talking about like, getting stuff up there. Just for the research. That was all worth it because we have memory foam now. Oh, we have freaking freeze-dried ice cream. Like, huh? Those few little they're cool discoveries, I guess. But it's like kind of irrelevant. I'm talking specifically about the space part. I don't care about the air. Like, okay, the air, that's pretty relevant to everyone. But the space, not really. So, again, it brings me to this thing where I'm like, it doesn't make sense unless there is a little piece of something they're leaving out. And who knows? Is that leaving out that when they went to the moon, there are some stuff up there? Or the reason why they're sending all these robots to Mars is because there is some stuff that they want to discover in Mars that actually makes up for the price. of spending all this stuff. Because right now it's just, free money being spent. Like that has no relevancy at all. It's just money just being burned. It's like, okay, we have a robot up there. Oh, it's a bunch of red. Hey, we got a mic now. We can hear a bunch of the wind. Oh, okay, we learned. Oh, the red, it is iron after all. I mean, we knew that, but now we doubly know it is iron. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Who cares if, like, oh, we want to go to Mars, we want to go to Venus now because there's a chance that there are microbes in the air or in the clouds of Venus. It's like, we're spending this much? Like, even if it's like, oh, it only costs $4 billion. Like, oh, but still, we're spending $4 billion to send something to Venus just to discover that there's some microbes in the clouds. That it doesn't make sense on a strategic level or in a like economic level of just wasting away stuff. Like, there's no reward. The reward is just being like, oh, wow. That's it. That's all you get for the reward. Unless, again, there is a key detail that is being left out each time. And I think it's a pretty big key detail just from the fact that it's still being done. Is that they are either discovering some stuff or they're doing some stuff that is making up for that money times 10. Like, oh, we need to go to freaking whatever that moon on Jupiter is because there is something there that is going to change everything. Or we already know there's something there that's going to change everything and we need to go over there to, oh no, make some stuff happen. Because beyond that, it just doesn't make sense. Because if anything, why not fund ocean exploration? Find some new species. That's just as cool. But like, oh, we found some new species under the sea. Yes, us American. Super cool. You can't do that without democracy. You can't find new species under the sea. But they're not doing that. And it's the same thing. Oh, say history. Why not fund a history project? Like, yes, our American archaeologists have found the missing link. We spent how many thousand billion dollars every year to our national archaeology agency, so then we can find some new cool history stuff and then bring it back to our American museums. But that's not what happens. It's not what happens. It's all just for the space where that logic makes sense, where, oh, the science, the history. It's like, but there's other sciences. Space isn't the only science that can be funded, but it's only space that matters. Again, freaking aliens. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. I dare someone to rationalize why this the space stuff is more important than any other science. And don't be like, oh, well, actually, chemistry is funded way more than space because actually the medical sector uses a lot of money for chemistry. And what about food processing? It's like, no, that does not count. We don't have a freaking agency for chemistry. We don't have the freaking CHAMA or something, whatever, the freaking chemistry agency. No. We don't have the freaking archaeology agency. We don't have some freaking sea exploration agency that's funded at the same level, I would say. No. We don't have a biology or whatever, animal, whatever agency that's funded at the same level. We have some national park stuff, but you'll see national parks freaking launching expeditions for the, I don't know, something crazy. It's just NASA. And why would you say not these other agencies? Because it's not worth the money, some would argue. It's like, oh, what? Why should we care about some new animals? Who cares about some new animals? I'm not going to spend my tax dollars on that. But they are okay with spending your tax dollars on finding that Pluto has zinc on the surface. Huh? Oh, that Mars has some frozen water on the poles that we already knew. Oh, but now we're confirming it. Like, okay. It just doesn't make sense. It's aliens. You heard it here first. They know some stuff. Either they know some stuff or they're going to know some stuff, or they're sure they are going to know some stuff about not microbes, but freaking actual aliens. So that is the wisdom of today, is that the conspiracy people were right. Aliens exist from the mere fact that NASA is an agency that is funded. Because if anything, they can just be like colleges, give a few thousand, maybe $1 billion to a couple scientists and say, okay, go crazy. And you're using the telescopes that you've been using for, most of the time. Oh, you need Rocket launch? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe if you save up for 5 years. But NASA, they're launching a whole freaking platoon of freaking things to crazy stuff. And I will admit, not that frequently, but still frequently enough where I'm like, why? And don't go, it's because you don't like space. Like, I know I like space. I just realized that space is, not as relevant as people love it to be. Like, if it is as, they say space is just a fun thing. It's not a relevant thing, because half of the things that happen in space are a unbelievable level of like far away. Like, it's not even able to comprehend how far away this stuff is happening. Even say getting to another planet is a different level of far away, where the amount of preparation, the amount of like just the idea of, say, just going to Mars, just going to the moon will require so many resources that it's unbelievable, because humans require so much stuff just to survive. So, heard it here first. I say it again. Aliens exist. A mere fact. NASA's funded. I'm not sure if I'll upload this because I know I'm going to get flack, which means I am going to upload this because guess what? I don't have viewers anyway. And ironically, this might get me more viewers because guess what? The freaking conspiracy people are more reliable viewers than the people who want just the boring, well, not boring, but, the normal stuff. So that's it. Podcast is over, but not fully, because guess what? I'm making another freaking conspiracy podcast right after this. So I guess 50 years from now, people are going to be like, I'll have a Wikipedia article or something. They're like, Jabari was a great guy, but he had some crazy views about some stuff. He was kind of a nutcase. So with conspiracies, it's like, okay, whatever, call me a nutcase. But guess what? Those 50 years from now, when the message happens where they're like, oh yeah, actually we've been in contact with aliens since World War II. Actually, the Nazis, they're kind of crazy, but they found some stuff out. That's why the whole Cold War even started, or why the space race even started, and blah 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 blah.